If the polls are to be believed, the election for governor of Maryland is shaping up to be a landslide. Democratic candidate Wes Moore is leading his Republican opponent. You can see it right there. The Trump-backed Dan Cox by more than 30 points. Even 22% of Republicans say they will vote for Moore over Cox. Joining me now is Wes Moore, Democratic candidate for governor of Maryland. Wes, it is great to see you. Welcome to the Sunday Show.
Great to be with you. Great to be with you.
All right. I've never seen numbers like that. You were 30 points ahead, more than 30 points ahead in that poll. When you came to talk to us on the Washington Post editorial board, you said, I'm running like I'm 10 points down. That makes sense if you're leading by 2. But when you're leading by 30, come on.
Still running like you're 10 points down.
Why?
Because there's only one poll that matters, and that's Election Day. You know, if you think about the primary, there was never a poll before the primary election that we were ahead. But we ended up winning convincingly in the primary election. And so, you know, I know polls are important snapshots about where voters are. But I know that the thing that the voters are looking for right now is we're moving with a sense of urgency. We're campaigning with a sense of aggression. And that's exactly how I plan on governing. So we're going to run this race like we were 10 points down until Election Day.
Are you just focusing on those blue areas? I mean, Maryland is considered a reliably blue state. Well, Baltimore is a reliably blue portion of the state. Are you going into red portions of the state?
Honestly, Jonathan, the thing I've loved most is we're going everywhere. And we're going a lot of places that are, you know, traditionally Republican areas. And there are people who will say to me, you're going a lot of places there's not a lot of Democrats. And my answer is simple. Yeah, but there's a lot of Marylanders. And I plan on being their governor, too. And when we're going to, you know, whether it's rural, urban, suburban parts of the state, and we're talking about a leave no one behind agenda, an agenda that I learned that I was, you know, when I was in the military, I learned the mantra, leave no one behind. And that's the political agenda that we're going to take. When we talk about how this is about economics, it's about work and wages and wealth. It's not just people in, you know, urban parts of the state that are saying, you know, we agree. We're going out and talking to the farmers and the watermen. And who I'm saying it's about work, wages, and wealth. They're saying that's me too. And I'm saying you're right. And that's exactly how we plan on governing.
Speaking of your military background, you just said, you know, leave no one behind. In that Ed Board interview you did with us at the Washington Post, you talked about how you wanted to basically reclaim patriotism, where you said you're tired of being lectured to about patriotism, especially by a guy who put on a baseball cap and brought people here to the Capitol on January 6th. Why do you feel it's important that you take back patriotism?
Yeah, I'm tired of it, and I refuse to have it done to me. And I think all of us should, and all Democrats should. You know, because I know what's on you know, the ballot right now. It's not just politics and political you know, views. It is patriotism. And loving your country does not mean lying about its history. Defending democracy does not mean trying to destroy it. And, you know, when I talk about my definition of patriotism, I mean, I left my family and I defended this country in combat. I served as a member of the 82nd Airborne Division, led paratroopers in Afghanistan. And I am running against somebody who put on a baseball cap and asked people to join him on January 6th while calling the vice president a traitor as people were calling for him to be hung. That's not patriotism. And it is something that's very personal to me, just in terms of my background and my family, where, you know, my grandfather was the first one on my mom's side of the family born in this country, born down in South Carolina. And when he was just a toddler, his father, my great-grandfather, picked up the family and moved in the middle of the night because the Ku Klux Klan ran them out. And the majority of my family always said they would never come back to this country, and many of them did not, except my grandfather. And he came back. He attended an HBCU. He became the first black minister in the history of the Dutch Reformed Church. And this is a man who transitioned and passed away when he was 87 years old with a deep Jamaican accent his entire life and was maybe the most patriotic American I've ever met. So patriotism is not something that I will allow our opponents or any political party to claim. Their idea of patriotism is not real and just, because I've seen patriotism with my own eyes.
In fact, you told us in that Ed Board meeting that your grandfather said he felt this country would be incomplete without him, and that's why he came back.
In all of his humility, yes.
In all of his humility. So you have a debate coming up this week.
Yes.
It's probably going to be your only one-on-one debate with Dan Cox. He previously accused you of avoiding one-on-one debates, and you declined to appear at a forum hosted by Morgan State and HBCU, so Cox went by himself. Why did you decline that opportunity?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're actually visiting. We're visiting all 4 HBCUs in the state of Maryland. Maryland is some of the top HBCUs in the country, and for our state, we have 4 of them. And I'm visiting each and every one of them.
But why not debate them?
Well, because
one of those HBCUs.
Yeah, because I think that, we're going to spend our time talking to voters. We're going to spend our time actually, telling voters about our vision and our values. I'm excited to debate him this week. I think debating is an important part of the Democratic process, but I'm also not going to spend undue time not talking to voters, because I'm going to stand on stage with him debating whether or not Joe Biden is the president of the United States.
One more real quick question. The current Republican governor, Larry Hogan, has declined to endorse Dan Cox, calling him, quote, a QAnon whack job. Yes or no? Would you accept Hogan's endorsement if one was offered?
I would love to have Governor Hogan's vote. I'd love to have the vote of every person in our state, Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And I think the governor is absolutely right. My opponent is unfit to be the next governor.